Now this seeing clearly, to see clearly, you, as I said just now, you have to practice samatha meditation, which is, samatha means tranquilization of the mind. Practice tranquilization of the mind to see things clearly. Now to know things, you have to practice vipassana meditation. Vipassana meditation, vipassana is translated as contemplation. Nowadays, some people translate it as insight, but that is not a good translation, it is actually a very misleading translation, because in the suttas, in the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha said, if you practice vipassana, it leads you to insight. The result of practicing vipassana is insight. Insight cannot be practiced. Insight is a result. How can you practice a result? You can only practice vipassana meditation, contemplation, and the result is insight or wisdom. Now the Chinese translation is very accurate for these two words, samatha and vipassana. And we know that this Chinese translation was done about more than 1,000 years ago. And the Chinese translation is Chir Kuan. Chir is stilling of the mind, tranquilization of the mind. That is accurate. Kuan is contemplation, not insight. So samatha is tranquilization, vipassana is contemplation. Now, these two things, there is one sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya, 4.170, and that sutta was spoken by Venerable Ananda in his old age. After the Buddha had passed into Nibbana, Venerable Ananda was considered like the father of the Sangha. So, if the monks and nuns had anything to say to the leader, they would go and tell Venerable Ananda. And all the monks and nuns who attained arahanthood came to tell Venerable Ananda. Previously, when the Buddha was alive, they would go and tell the Buddha. But now they went to tell Venerable Ananda. So in the sutta, Venerable Ananda said, all the monks and nuns who attained arahanthood and came to inform him that they attained arahanthood, all said that they attained arahanthood in only 4 ways. In other words, arahanthood can be attained only by these 4 ways of meditation, no other way. The first one, Venerable Ananda said, was to practice samatha first, followed by vipassana. Samatha first, followed by vipassana. The second one is to practice vipassana, followed by samatha. And normally people know the first one, but people don't know the second one. Even if you've been practicing vipassana, you still must practice samatha, otherwise you cannot become an arahant. So the second one is vipassana followed by samatha. The third one is practicing samatha and vipassana at the same time. There are certain types of meditation where you can do that, samatha and vipassana at the same time. The fourth one is a meditation on the self, to investigate who is this self. When you close your eyes, you ask yourself, who is this I? This I is very strong in all of us. It's because we have the feeling of that I that you want to protect this I, this self. So when somebody wants to kill you, you don't let him simply kill you, yes or not? You fight to the extent of even killing him to protect your life. Why? Because that feeling of that I is very strong within us. So when you close your eyes, you investigate, who is this I? Is it this body? Then you realize it's not this body, because if the body were to die and if you didn't have any body, still the mind is working and the self is still there. So you investigate, where is this self? Is it in my mind? So you keep on focusing on that self, and that will lead you to one-pointedness of mind. And the Buddha says, Venerable Ananda says that is the way, when you attain one-pointedness of mind, you will understand. and see the way very clearly. In fact, one-pointedness of mind is a purification. Some of you may know the 7 stages of purification. You need purification of mind before you can understand what is path, what is not path. So, Arhanhood is obtained in only these 4 ways. And by the way, the last one, meditation of the self, nowadays it's practiced in Zen Buddhism. They practice say, it's not who am I. That meditation, a lot of people think that is only peculiar to Zen Buddhism, that only in Mahayana Buddhism you have it. They don't know, because they didn't study the suttas, that it originated from the Buddha himself. And that meditation has gone into yoga. It's gone to jnana yoga. That is quite a good meditation. But unfortunately, it seems to be lost in Theravada Buddhism. Very few people in Theravada Buddhism practice it because they don't even know that it was in Theravada Buddhism. So, if of these 4 ways, you find all these 4 ways to attain Arahanthood, you must have samatha and vipassana. You cannot do away with samatha or do away with vipassana. These two go hand in hand. Samatha is to clear the mind, make the mind very clear. And vipassana is to use the mind to contemplate so that wisdom arises. So these two both are necessary. Now, the practice of vipassana is actually the practice of sati. Later on, I'll explain sati. And sati is the 7th factor of the Aryan Eightfold Path. As you all know, sati is the 7th factor of the Aryan Eightfold Path, and that is the vipassana practice. Now, if you practice samatha, that will lead you to attain samadhi. And samadhi is the 8th factor of the Aryan Eightfold Path. So you can see the 7th factor and the 8th factor are concerned with samatha and vipassana. That is why you cannot do away with any one of them. And both are needed because the Aryan Eightfold Path consists of 8 factors and all 8 factors are necessary. And unfortunately nowadays some people think that samadhi is not necessary. But in the suttas, the Buddha said, samadhi mago, asamadhi kummago. Samadhi is concentration, mago is the path. Asamadhi is no concentration, kummago is the wrong path. So the Buddha is saying, concentration is the path. No concentration is the wrong path. So it's very clear that concentration is needed for you to see things clearly and understand and know. And as I mentioned just now, the 2 Majjhima Nikaya Suttas also explain very clearly that jhana is necessary for attaining anagami and also for arahanthood. Now, so I'll summarize here again that the practice of samatha and vipassana both are necessary. It is, if you practice samatha and vipassana, it is equivalent to practicing sati and samadhi, which are the 7th and the 8th factors of the Aryan Eightfold Path. So you know that the Aryan Eightfold Path has 8 factors and every one of them is necessary. And all 8 factors pulling together will help you to get out of samsara. You cannot do with only 1 factor or 2 factors or even 7 factors. You have to do with all 8 factors of the Aryan Eightfold Path. That is why sati and samadhi are necessary.